Hey everyone, I want to do something a little bit different in this video. I've been doing this now for 3 years and 6 months, and I've realized that no one actually knows me or my story or how I became a YouTuber or anything like that, or just where all this started. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Connor. I'm 31. I'm from England. So as many of you thought I'd be from America, I'm not. I'm actually from England. And generally speaking, I just want to talk about, my journey in general from YouTube, because before this, 6 years ago, this wasn't even the life I planned. Um, Now, this might come as a surprise to you because this video has taken me about 15 attempts to get started, but I do actually have autism. So, like, if you see my mannerisms go a bit weird or change, then that's why. Um, but I just wanted to talk about, the beginning and then where we got to now. So, before YouTube, I was just a regular guy working in construction, with my father. Um, Tried many times to forge my own path in life, and it just failed. I went to college, I went to uni, I had to drop out of uni because I just couldn't comprehend anything. So I went to work with my father as a bricklayer, and that was it. That was my plan in life. I'd never made a video in my life before, never done anything like that, and that was pretty much my life for 15 years. I keep touching the mic. It's terrible. So this all started around 2020. COVID happened, as you all know, which was pretty bad, and all the sites shut down. Now my routine was work, home, play some games, chill. Now when work stopped, I was just didn't know what to do with myself. Literally, I was stuck in a tiny one bed house. It was like 400 square feet. It was literally, it wasn't big enough for two people, but me and my fiance lived there for many years. And I needed something to keep me sane before I lost my head. So I discovered TikTok, and it probably came around that time. And back then it was, I started doing these weird, I wish I had the videos to show you. I could probably find them, and if I do, I will edit them into this later. I made like homegrown costumes and all sorts, pretended to be a demon, and I don't know what the hell's going on. It was the most cringiest stuff known to man. And then I just copied everyone else basically. That was it. It was nothing spectacular. And then it was around mid 2020 that I discovered the filter that you all know and love. Well, the precursor to the filter that you're used to seeing now, which was called expressions, if I recall correctly. Now I had this filter before anyone else. Literally no one had this filter. And it made my face distort and eyes, but it was just enough to make it look like I was actually doing the facial expressions. So I was toying with people at the time, and it was basically, not your face, and that's all I kept doing, just winding people up. Now, again, somewhere down the line, someone commented and asked, "Can you do the Ding Dong Song by Gunther?" And I was like, "What the hell was that?" Didn't know what it was. No clue. Never heard it in my life. And I listened to it, and as many of you know, if you've ever heard the full song, it's really out there. So I found I think it was the beginning of the song, and then I don't know why, but an idea came to my head. And again, if I can find a video, I will put it on here and edit after. But I basically just stood in front of the mirror, did the hip dance. Everyone loved it. It went crazy viral. Like, we're talking big viral. It was like everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is the weirdest song ever," and you're just doing a hip shake, and my views skyrocketed, and it was fun. It was lockdown. There was nothing else to do. Literally, nothing else to do. I had no garden, no nothing. It was just me inside my bathroom recording videos 24/7. And then somewhere down the line, I had the idea to buy an inflatable suit, which is actually, bear with me a second. Um, this is the suit I bought 6 years ago. It's not the one I currently wear because it doesn't inflate anymore. Not the fan, the actual suit's covered in holes. So that was where, oh, I'm stuck on the wig. Give me a second. So sound like Mike Tyson then. So that's where that suit came from. And then I did the dance, but I think this time it was a head bop, if I remember right. And it went viral again. It was like, it just kept going viral. And I was like, oh my God, I've actually found something like really cool here. So I reused the Gunther song over and over again. And eventually, now this is where the name originated from. Obviously the song is, "Oh, you touch my Talalaa, my ding ding dong," and, followed by a very weird moan. So I rinsed and repeated the song. It got me views, and I was like, "Hey, I've got views and cool." And then Eventually got stale, obviously, all good things come to an end. But at the time, it was just me in a costume. That was it. There was no characters. There was no Talalaa, Banalalaa, Momalalaa, Grim Reaper and Granny and all that sort of stuff. It was just me wearing a suit. So somewhere along the line, around probably, I don't know, December 2020, I had this idea of creating skits, comedy skits. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I need another costume. So thus spawned in, let me just grab it. I am really unprepared for this. Now, I bought this suit, this exact one, about 5 or 6 years ago. This is the original Banalalaa suit. And I've been wearing this ever since. Don't worry, I wash it. I didn't wash it for the first 2 years, I'm not going to lie. It's torn to shreds. It's falling apart everywhere. But this is the suit. This is what I wore. And eventually I took the foam out because it started off, big head and all sorts. And then that became Banalalaa, literally. And then obviously I got that suit and I was like, I'm going to make some comedy skits. And I just started thinking of ideas and stuff, sort of copying everyone else at first. And then it come to around, I probably got the timelines mixed up, but around just after Halloween, we had a Halloween party and my mom gave me a wig. Now, again, this is a wig from her witch costume. So it's crazy how everything's like a domino effect. Now this wig, as you all know, is the wig for, I'm going to try to pronounce it properly because even I've never actually said the words, but Momalalaa, if that's what we're going to call it. Now, I paired that with a blue suit and thus the big three were born. I think I just called the original Blueberry character MrTalalaa, then Banalalaa, and then Momalalaa, basically. And then that was the big three, the mom, the son, and the other son. And that's what obviously you all know and love, and they're featured in virtually every single skit. And this basically went on for some time. And somewhere down the line, it was I really enjoyed it. Like what I was doing before was just copying people, just trying to get views and everything else on TikTok. But when I started doing these skits, I really, really enjoyed what I did. It was funny. I could be sitting on the toilet, literally just sitting on the toilet, doing the business, and I'd have an idea in my head, and I'm like, an idea, and then I'd note the idea down, and then I'd make a video from it, and that was basically where that came to. So I'd just listen to audios, visualize a scenario, plan the scene, make them over and over again, and it eventually replaced my long-time hobby of gaming. Basically, I was a gamer. I loved playing games, but this became my new hobby. So this went on for about another year or so. Eventually, TikTok reached the limit, and it was around 2022. I was sort of curious what videos would perform like on YouTube. So I posted like a handful of my best TikToks. It was, life was getting back to normal. COVID was over and that sort of stuff. But they just didn't go anywhere. Like for the whole year of 2022, I posted my videos, nothing happened, literally nothing. There were no videos, no views, no nothing. And that was it. I was like, okay, well, I'm just doing this for fun. I don't really care if YouTube does well. I'm just wanted to see. And then the big moment was February 2023. Now, this is this is where my whole life just completely changed. I went from working, I'd get up at 5, return home at 5. I was grafting every single day of the week as a labourer for my father, learning to be a bricklayer. And I was just literally barely making ends meet sort of thing. Like every month I had, a few £100 in my account and I was only just making enough just to get by. I had, again, with autism, I had really bad spending habits where I'd spend on credit cards and stuff like that and just get myself to a tizzy. And it was just like, no matter how hard I worked and the things I wanted, I just couldn't get anywhere. But anyway, I'm babbling on. 2023 happened. And my fiance's sister sent me a message on Instagram. And it was basically, the kids love seeing you on YouTube. You every day. And I was like, YouTube? Last I checked, I had no views on YouTube. Literally 0, nil, nada, nothing. No subscribers, no nothing. And I hadn't posted in a while. So I went on YouTube and, I kid you not, I had 300,000 subscribers, multiple millions of views. And I was like, crap, like this is big. This is more views than I ever had on TikTok ever in like a year. So I logged into my account and I was like, okay, this is crazy. And then I had an invite to the Shorts monetization program. Now, this came out probably February 10th or something. It was like days prior. So I had an invite to that program. I accepted the invite and I was like, okay, I earned a few pounds a day. And I was like, okay, I'm earning a couple of quid from this. Never earned from it before, but it's nice to actually earn something now. But I started to panic. I was like, okay, this could be a next wave of something I'm actually earning now. So I need to put in the effort. But I had no videos. Literally, I hadn't made a video in ages. I was just busy with life. So thankfully, I had TikToks from 2022 when I was actually, doing it a lot. But it all stopped when life went back to normal. So I pulled up my best ones, posted daily, and I think within 2 weeks I hit 1 million subscribers. It was just, I was like, what the hell? Like, it took me years to get to 1 million subscribers on TikTok, and I was like, whoa. And then I got contacted by an agency who wanted to bring me into their roster, and I was like, okay, like, I don't know what I'm doing with YouTube, so yeah, okay. And then I was like, we had the likes of King Batch in our who've represented for in the past, and I was like, crap, like, you've represented someone big, like, this is, what are you contacting me for? I'm just a dude. And it was like, you grew really fast, you got to 1 million subscribers in no time at all, and was like, we think this could go far. So I was like, okay, like, this could actually, change my life. So, but it was all still new to me. I was still, working full time. But my earnings were going up daily on YouTube. Like, it started off a couple of quid, then a tenner, then 20, and then it kept going up each day. And I was like, okay, this is nice. A nice bit of pocket change. I can finally end the month and not have a few hundred quid in my account because, life was too crazy. And my job was good, but I earned enough just to get by. So, but at the time I had no time to do anything else, but this was something I enjoyed. So I stuck with it basically. And, we was in a tiny house and everything else. So it was what it was. But my channel was growing, and it was growing fast. I think by April, I said to my partner, I was like, look, I'm actually earning, a good few hundred quid extra a month now. Like, we could actually upgrade our house. We haven't got to be in this tiny 400 square foot house. I mean, I kid you not, the living room and kitchen was smaller than this room. It was tiny. There's no room to do anything. And I was like, well, if my YouTube is growing, I need more space. We have one bedroom and no wardrobe, so I need space for costumes and stuff. So we moved out around April, rented another place just down the road, a 2-bed. So I had a bedroom for, like, a studio. And then it was around that house there, like, you all know the Yeah Baby audio. Now, if this works, I don't think it will, but I'll play the audio now. So yeah, baby. Hopefully you heard that. If you didn't heard it, I'll put it in later. That audio came out, and it was around May, June. Now the channel it exploded, literally exploded. Every video was racking in tens of millions of views, and I was like, oh my god, like, this is crazy. It was such a stupid concept, but it did really well. And obviously, in turn, the earnings went up, and I think within just over a month, I'd earned my yearly wage, and I was like, crap, like, this is insane. But, me not being a content creator, I was like, well, this is going to end at some point. Surely at some point it's going to end, because that's what normally happens. But it kept growing. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And then before I knew it, we had, enough money to buy a house. So I was like, crap, we can actually buy a house now. Like, we haven't got to be in a rented property all for the rest of our lives. So, we started saving for a house, applying for houses. And the main scary part was, the more I was earning, the more I was starting to realize that this could be a career, literally a career. Like, I'd been working years as a labourer. I struggled to, ascend the ranks because of my lack of understanding of things and stuff like that. But it did me well. I enjoyed my job. And I was doing, I think around May, June, I was doing 40 hours a week at work, grafting my butt off all day. And then I was coming home about 5 p.m, having dinner, and then just making videos till about midnight, and then getting up, I was barely sleeping. So that was basically that. I was just working, constantly working. I had no time for myself. So as the YouTube channel started to grow even more, I was like, right, something needs to give. I can't keep up with this. I have no time for myself. I barely have enough time for my partner because I was working days, she was working nights, so which is why I could do the videos and stuff. And it started to get stressful for me, and I was like, well, do I take the risk and leave the life I'd always known for the past 15 years? It's done me well, but it only got me so far. Or do I take a chance, a leap of faith, and go full blown for YouTube? So the month before we got the keys to the house, I took a month off and to decide what I wanted to do. And in that month, I did maybe, the same hours on YouTube, but I could pick and choose my hours whenever I wanted to. And I had a lot more time for myself, a lot more time for my partner. I could work around her schedule. And it was kind of like, I've got something really good going on here. Like, it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of work. Having to think of new ideas every single day. I have to keep on top of the algorithm and everything else, and keep, just make sure I'm constantly hitting virals. But some had to give, and it was a hard decision for me because I'd worked with my father. I loved working with my father. I loved seeing him every day, and my brothers. But I needed to forge my own path in life. Like, I'd always been, I tried something in uni. I tried computing, didn't work. Went into bricklaying. So I basically left, and my idea was, right, if I'm going to do it, I need to go all in. I can't be doing work and this. It just ain't going to work. One's got to give. So eventually we got the keys in October. I decided to take a break from work, and then in that break, obviously, I figured out, I was like, right, this is it. I'm going all in. So we got the keys, and it was I need to keep growing. I need to keep growing the channel. I need to make sure that I'm constantly smashing goals. And that was it, and then we moved to the new house, the one prior to this, or one prior to that, because we moved between. And it just kept getting better and better. 2024 was the first year that I wasn't, working construction. This was my first full year of me doing just YouTube. It was scary. I'm not going to lie. It was terribly scary. I had this panic of, if something goes wrong, or if I'm just a one-hit wonder or something, I'm just going to fall down and go back to my old life. But it never happened. 2024 exploded even more. It was just, we had audios like, what the Jesus Christ was at and stuff like that. And it just kept getting better and better. And to be honest with you, like, the only downside to it all was I was home 24/7, editing 24/7. Back then, I didn't really have good editing skills. It took me hours per video, literally hours. A simple 10-second video could take me anywhere up to 4 hours, because if there was several of me in one scene, it was really hard to do. But then I think it's about February, March 2024, I surpassed my TikTok following. So that gave me a bit of, I was like, okay, this is still going well. And because that took me like 4 years to get to that TikTok. And then that was my days were basically spent making videos, learning how to edit, everything else. It was hard to switch off. And that's the only thing I missed about my old life, was I could switch off, go to work, come home, switch off. That was it. Where this was 24/7 every day, my ideas churning in my head. And I was like, I've got to keep growing. I've got to keep getting better. And it went from sort of like a hobby to an obsession, quite literally. But the channel was still growing, so it was fueling my obsession. And it was around October 3rd that I'd hit 10 million subscribers, which was just I mean, you could see the diamond right there. It was, if I can find a video of when I revealed it and opened the box with my parents, it was probably one of the most emotional moments of my life, because I grew up with autism. I grew up struggling in every aspect of my life, and it was always, I never thought I'd be much, and no matter what I tried, I couldn't do it. So I just stuck with family business because it was hands-on. Didn't have to, have to think, but not too much. And that was basically my life. So that happened, which was holy crap, I'm now one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. And it was just mind-boggling. And the moment I revealed that, I mean, my old man shed a tear, and even I got really emotional with it. I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is all mine. I've built this. I've had no help, no one to give me ideas, no one to edit my videos. It was all me, literally all of it me. And it was nice to finally feel that pride that I'd done something. But there's downside of it with mental health. Like, I was isolated a lot. I didn't exactly lose contact with my friends, but I didn't see them every day. And it was kind of hard, that transition in life, where, my days were just me doing YouTube videos, seeing my fiance, which was more than enough, but it was always nice to go out and see other people as well, and actually, having connect with people. So it was around 2024, and this leads us to last year, where, we discussed starting a family. So I was like, okay, well, this ain't going to be the house I want to stay in. It was a terraced house. I mean, my neighbors, if you're watching this, if you ever discovered who I actually am, I'm so sorry for all the racket that I made with all the audios. You must think I'm a loony. That's part of the reason why I wanted to move, because I hated the idea of neighbors listening to me screaming, basically all the time. So we had to move. So we started saving. 2024 happened. So 2025 happened. We started saving. I actually went back to work because when the whole prospect of our forever home, the one we're currently in, came in, I was panicking a lot. What if I can't make enough money in time? So I went back to work, which done me some good. It was nice, actually, because I considered them my friends as well as my work colleagues. But it was a tough year. My fiance was working nights, and it was the same. We didn't get to see each other much. And it was just work, constant work. But at the same time, because I went back to my old life, and I was a lot more tired than what I usually was, the channel took an impact. I wasn't focusing much on it more, because normally you see me creating videos, and you think, oh, he just makes a video, but it's not. That's part of the work. The other half of the work is analyzing the data, what's working, what's not, what audios are trending, what's trending. And there's a lot of data you got to get together to, do well. You can't just post anything and hope for the best. You've got to follow a structure. No, I wasn't. I was just posting whatever, which was good for me because I enjoy doing that. I hate rinsing and repeating things all the time, which you guys probably notice. I do rinse and repeat a lot of sounds. I don't like doing that all the time, but you have to do it to appease the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. So that was that. The channel was sort of falling behind. I was like, oh, so maybe my life is going to be working this. And that was basically that. So we got the keys in September. I carried on with work because the channel was still declining. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is it. This is the end. And then we had Christmas off, and I was focusing on the channel again. I had loads of spare time, and the views as soon as I clocked on to what was trending and started posting what was trending, the views skyrocketed again. And that was my moment where I was like, okay, I need to focus on this. This is, if my attention is not 100% on YouTube, it's going to fail, and I can't let it fail. So decisions made. I was like, okay, this is my life now. I can't go back to work anymore. This is my life. This is what I need to do. So that was that. I quit the job, went full time again. And then now, like, the views aren't as what they used to be, but they are slowly increasing month by month. And eventually I'll get back to 2024 levels. And, that's pretty much where we are today. I'm sorry for waffling so much. This is supposed to be short and sweet. For those of you who stayed to the end, I really do appreciate it. Thank you for listening to my life story, as long as it was. And genuinely, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who's followed me throughout the years. It's been like 6 years now since I started, and I never dreamed of this being my life at all. Like, if you told me 6 years ago I'd be a content creator, I would have told you you're an idiot, and that is absolute bogus because of who I am. This video took several times to try start because I couldn't do it. But obviously doing a scripted short is something else entirely, and doing a live is different because I feel like I'm talking to someone. But I generally want to say a special thank you for everyone who's actually been there supporting me throughout the whole journey. It's been nice having people there to support me, because I've always obviously, as you all know, if anyone's read comments over the years, I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of, oh God, my phone is making noises. I get a lot of hate and trolling over the years, but you guys have always been the backbone of this channel. So for that, I'm grateful. I hope I can continue to improve in every aspect and give the content, give you the content you deserve. Some might call it brain rot, but I call it brain rot with substance. So I like to think that's, Anyway, rambling on. Enjoyed making this video. I'd like to make more myself, more of these kind of videos, and talk a bit more about, how I edit, where I get my ideas from, all that sort of stuff. So if you'd like to hear anything more about that, just let me know in the comments, and I'll do another video. But for now, I'll see you guys later, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.